Find the center and radius of the circle and any intercepts. All right, so we have an equation of a circle that's given in general form. We want to write it into standard form. So what we're going to do first is remove this coefficient that's in front of the x squared and y squared terms. Luckily, it's something that can divide into all the terms in the equation. That's good news because we want to eliminate those. We need to have just a coefficient of 1 on those two terms. So let's go ahead and divide everything in the equation by 3. All right, so if you divide this by 3, 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 and the 0 by 3, you get the following results. So the 3's cancel here. You'll end up with x squared plus the 3's cancel here, so just plus y squared. Minus 3 goes into 18 6 times, so it'll be negative 6x. Plus 3 goes into 12 4 times to give you positive 4y. And then minus 3 goes into 36 12 times, and lastly 3 goes into 0 0 times. All right, from here we're going to remember group the x terms together. So x squared minus 6x, leave a little space, then put plus y squared plus 4y, and then on the other side of the equation we'll move the constant to give you just positive 12. Okay, then we complete the square, so we take half of this term and square it. So minus 6 over 2 gives you negative 3, and then we square that to get us 9. Now the 9 will end up here, right? So we'll place the 9 here, but if we put it there, we must put it at the end of the equation as well, or else we'll have an unbalanced equation. Let's do the same for the middle term here. Half of 4, of course, is 2. We square that, we end up with 4 again. We add 4 here, and therefore add 4 to the other side to maintain the balance in the equation. Then we factor the trinomials, right? And simplify the constant on the other side. Let's do the constant first. 12 plus basically 13 is 25. And then we'll have, for the first factoring, x and x, we'll have 2 negative signs, right? And factors of 9 that add to 6 are 3 and 3. Then in the second one, we'll have y and y, 2 positive signs. And factors of 4 that add to 4 are 2 and 2. Okay, so we end up having x minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared is equal to, let's write 25 as 5 squared, right? All right, and from there we can say that the center of the circle is simply equal to whatever the opposite sign is of the number in the parentheses here, so it'll be 3 comma negative 2, right? Because that's positive 2, we'll call it negative 2 for our center. And then we have the radius, which is just the number squared here, so in other words, 5. All right, so that's your center and your radius. Last step is to just get the intercepts. To find the intercepts, you just simply need to plug 0 in for x and y. So what happens if I end up putting 0 in for x to get the y-intercepts here? So let's look at the equation here at this step to do this. Just a little easier to work with, right? So if x is 0, I'll end up just having y squared plus 4y minus 12 equals to 0, because all the x terms would cancel out, right? Can we factor this? Are there factors of 12 that subtract to give you 4? Sure, 2 and 6, right? So we should be able to say that this factors as y and y plus and minus 6 and 2, because 6 times negative 2 is negative 12, and positive 6 minus 2 is positive 4. So the solution to those will be y plus 6 is equal to 0, and of course y minus 2 is equal to 0, and this of course will give you negative 6, and the other one will give you y is equal to 2. So we'll have negative 6 and 0 comma 2. All right, what happens now if we plug in 0 for y? All right, if we let y be 0, then let's see what occurs in the equation. So I'm just going to work over here because it's a little bit more roomy, right? So we'll end up having x squared, the y squared will cancel out, and we'll have minus 6x, and we'll have negative 12 is equal to 0. All right, so let's see if we can factor this. Are there factors of 12 that subtract to give you 6? Well, I don't think so, so let's go ahead and try to use quadratic formula on it then. So if we try to use quadratic formula, we'll be saying that x is equal to minus b, which will be positive 6, plus or minus the square root of the b term squared. So 6 squared or negative 6 squared will be 36, minus 4 times the a term, which is 1, times the c term, which is negative 12. And then all of that over 2 times the a term, which is just 1. All right, and then that'll end up giving you 6 plus or minus the square root of. It'll basically be 36 plus 48, or in other words, 84 divided by 2. From here, we can say that 84 is the same as what? 4 times 21, right? So we'll have 6 plus or minus the square root of 4 times 21 all over 2. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because then the 4 can come out here as a 2, right? So we'll end up having that x is equal to 6 plus or minus 2 square roots of 21 over 2. And then finally, you can clean that up a little bit by dividing everything by 2 here. So you end up getting that x is equal to 2 goes into 6 3 times plus or minus the square root of 21. All right, so you end up with 2 x-intercepts. They're basically 3 plus and minus the square root of 21. All right, so here are your list of intercepts. You have your center and your radius, and the problem is done.